Hi, this is Gary Jordan, and today we're going to have our first video in a series I'll have on some basic issues that are more related to North America and our cultural network, our cultural pattern uh, related to natural law. And today's video will be an introduction to private property. Now, do we have any examples of property in nature? Actually, we do. And as a result, the examples are nests, bird nests that they build, the burrows of rodents and snakes as they burrow into the ground. They defend these territories. Large predatory iconic animals like polar bears and mountain lions, they have all large territories and they defend those territories. But it's not quite private property, as you'll see later on. So what we're going to do is we're going to discuss some of the characteristics of what a property is, why a natural law society might want to have private property of any kind, and some of the examples of major categories of private property. So first, let me say that private property or property in general, uh, as I said, there is a version of it in nature, so it's not totally man-made. Also, every culture that I know of has some form of personal property. And they also have a prohibition against taking what doesn't belong to you. Well, you have to have something to be taken away from you for that to be the case. And so that's what property is. Used traditionally in most traditional societies. From the simplest Aboriginal hunter-gathering societies tucked away in the Amazon to our postmodern society. These all exist. So it's very universal. It's kind of a bridge between natural, purely natural law and what we call cultural law. And it's kind of a bridge between the two. So let's get going. So why would you want to have it? Why do we see this universally? Well, the main reason is to prevent conflict, to prevent squabbling over things, um, to prevent bloodshed and harm that is a secondary act from the confusion over whose things are what. So we have the concept of property as a preventative measure to prevent squabbling, fighting, and that sort of thing. Um, so with that in mind, the question then becomes, what are the characteristics that define that? Well, the first and most important of the three that I have is exclusivity. Take this coffee cup. You can't drink out of it and use it by more than one person at the same time. Otherwise, they won't have full use of it. Your cell phone is a tool. It's property because it's exclusive to me. One person can use it at one time. Sweater, shirt, same thing. Um, and in most cultures, they have that. I mean, all cultures have that. Personal, private, small cap property. So it's exclusive. Even the land usage. You can have only one orchard or one food forest or one little farm patch or house on any given size parcel of land at one time. So there is an exclusivity that blocks out the free and equal use of that item from more than one person. So that's one of the major characteristics. The second characteristic is for the most part, it's portable. In that, like the coffee cup, my shirt, the cell phone, the laptop, which I'm making the video on, can be picked up and toted away. Because most Earlier cultures had to assume that natural disaster would happen without warning, or for whatever reason they decided to move. The game went sour, or the plants, or with climatic change or something. So they had to be portable. It's only in modern times that we've been able to think otherwise. And the third characteristic is we created it. It doesn't actually, it isn't a part of nature. It's not another living thing. So, so those are the three things. Exclusivity of use, we created it, and more often than not, portability. Those are the three major areas, characteristics. So let's talk about some of the major categories of property that we have in the Western world. Well, I've already mentioned one, and that is personal property. Your clothes, your tools, your toys for the children, these are all personal effects. And in fact, in many cultures, they were buried or cremated or destroyed on the death of a person because they were thought to be part of that person. And all of these personal properties are not only exclusive, but they're also usually, but not 100%, made by the person. Your arrowheads, your your tools, your clothes, your stuff, usually are made by either the person themselves or by another human, but they are man-made nonetheless. Um, and as I say, most of them are portable. So that's the major one. The second one is our shelter. I really should put the second one as land because that started about 6,000 years ago as far as the belief that we could own it, possess it, control it. But there's a couple problems with that. Yes, land is exclusive in that only one house can be on a given parcel size land, that size house. One field of crops, one forest, one whatever. So that fits exclusivity. But we didn't make it. That's actually a part of Earth Mother. It's a part of the planet that is scientifically being shown to be a living, functioning, uh, living system. We don't own that. We're residents on it. We take care of it. We're custodians. That's the best we can say. Well, we can't really own it in the sense we can't possess it. It's not ours. We didn't make it. And land can't be rolled up and put in my backpack and taken off. I can't take it with me. So it's not portable either. So we really can't say we own land. We can have tenure on the land. We can be custodians of that land. We can decide amongst ourselves who will have the responsibility for caring for a given parcel, but that's it. The third major category is shelter. And for many thousands of years, shelter was either a natural feature like a cave, or it was made and it was small and could be transported around, like your teepees, your yurts, uh, your other portable shelters like that, your tents. And they were considered personal property because you could pack it up and take it with you when you moved. So shelter has always been kind of an oddball one. It's sort of in the middle. Our modern shelters, our buildings, our much of our homes actually are more like pieces of the landscape. You just can't roll them up and pick them with you. So that is a characteristic that makes um, our modern houses, in particularly, not really suitable for property to call property. They're there, they're useful, they're like a burrow for an animal or a nest. We make them, we create them, but they, on completion of creation, they become part of the landscape. You can't just pick them up and move them. So they're not, in my view anyway, they don't fit the full characteristics of property. The fourth major category that we have in North America is a large range of what is called intellectual property. Your copyrights, your patents, There's a lot of problems with those too. The characteristic that's the biggest problem with intellectual properties is that they're not exclusive. Anybody can use a thought. Anybody can use a word in a language and not take away from the complete usage of that thought, that word, that idea by another person. Billions can use it simultaneously and it doesn't take away from the others. So that's a big problem. The other thing is, where does the thought come from? Can we own it? In meditation, we find that a thought, an idea, a word comes and goes like the wind. Where it comes from, nobody really knows. Where it goes to, nobody really knows. So it really is not a viable property on that count. And while it is portable in the sense that we have access to it, since we don't know where it comes from, we really can't say it's a funny thing. And lots of corporations spend gobs of their funny money to deal with that. So anyway, those are the three major properties, four major, I should say, categories. And so this concludes the introduction of what property is, how it might relate to natural law, and so that you have freedom to think and choose what you yourself believe in, because that's one of the characteristics. Each person is a sovereign, and we have that right to choose and think for ourselves. Anyway, so that concludes today's video, and I hope it's enlightened you and hope it's helped you out. Take care. Have a great day.